This is a guide on how to complete the Liberty Falls Easter egg in under 30 minutes. Completing this will get you the Liberated Dark Ops Challenge calling card. This can be done in solo or in squads. In the gameplay, I'll be showing my speedrun, which I completed solo with no gobblegums, but I will be going over tips and tricks, and also which gobblegums will help you the most to get this done. If you enjoy this guide and it helps you out, be sure to leave a like on the video and a comment down below. Let's get into it. I'll first go over the class that I used for this and any augments for the perks that I grabbed. These of course are not required, but this is what I used and it made things a lot simpler. So first up, for your weapon, you want to make sure you have a weapon that you're comfortable using. There's a good chance this weapon will probably get swapped out, because I highly recommend using the GS45s in the run. The weapon I chose to start with is the Krig C, a good solid assault rifle, and the reason I chose this weapon is because on it I actually put a smoke grenade launcher underbarrel, and this is so that'll help when I go to do the pressure gauge switch for building the jet gun. Also, for my field upgrade, I would recommend using Ether Shroud, and the augments I was using was Burst Dash as well as Extra Charge. For my tactical and lethal, I chose to go with the Decoy and Lethal Molotovs. Now in this run I picked up 4 different perks, so the augments on those that I was using are as follows. For Juggernog, I have Reactive Armor and Hardened Plates. For Quick Revive, I have Dying Wish and Slow Death. For Speed Cola, Classic Formula and Fast Pitcher. And for PhD Flopper, PhD Slider and Tribologist. Of course, these augments are not required, but the one for PhD Flopper for a Tribologist is highly recommended, as that's going to make things a lot faster as you're sliding around the map. For augments on Napalm Burst, Ammo mod, you do want to make sure you have Big Game as well as Contact Burn. One more thing before we get started, you'll want to have a zombie build pre-made for the GS45 pistols, preferably with the Akimbo attachment unlocked. So as soon as we spawn in, we're going to turn the Rampage Inducer on. This is going to make it so the zombies move more aggressively, but they also will spawn in faster. Because this is a speed run, everything needs to be done quickly. Next, we're going to take advantage of the vending machine, as every time we hit it once per round, it's going to give us a random drop. Also, you want to make sure you check all the sleeping zombies in the beginning of spawn. Make sure you kill them and try to focus on headshots. With the Rampage Inducer on, this is going to make things go relatively quickly. Now, every round, we want to make sure to hit this vending machine if we are in the area, just because you might get a ray gun, you might get perks, you might get equipment. It really varies. Now, I will go ahead and mention this. If you have the Gobblegum Wonder Bar and you choose to use it to try to help you out, this is going to basically cut the time in half. What Wonder Bar does, it makes it where when you hit the mystery box, you have a 50-50 chance of getting the jet gun or the ray gun. So if you do happen to get the jet gun from the mystery box using this gobblegum, you can skip to the time on screen now. Now we're going to stay in spawn, repeating this for the first couple rounds. Now one other thing we want to do in spawn area before we leave this room is go up to where the jet gun is going to be crafted and go ahead and let these zombies out. But I like to do this when I get a double points. If I don't get a double points, by the time it's the bug round, I'll go ahead and go up there and hit it. But the reason I look for a double points is because I have my decoy. When I throw it, I'll get points from that, and then I can also run to the left through the bowling alley and make sure to grab the loose change that's under stamina. Now, if you are using gobblegums, here's a couple gobblegums you can use that's going to help getting your perks go a lot simpler. If you want to use a perkaholic, you can. I would not recommend, but it is going to give you all the perks available. If you don't want to use a perkaholic, you can use On the House. It'll give everyone in the lobby a free perk, or you can also use Soda Fountain, which is going to make it where when you buy your next perk, you'll get a free one at random. 2 other gobblegums that can come in handy later when we buy the GS45s off the wall is wall-to-wall clearance and wall power. Wall-to-wall clearance is going to make it when you buy the GS45s, it's only 10 points, and then wall power is going to make it when you buy it, it's going to be Pack-a-Punch. Another gobblegum that will be helpful if you want to, when you buy the GS45, you can also use Hidden Power, and this is going to make it where the rarity automatically goes to the highest, which is legendary, so it'll be gold. Again, you don't have to use gobblegums if you don't want to, if you enjoy the challenge, but if you're just going for the completion, I don't blame you. Gobblegums make this a million times easier. Now the first bug round should be about round 5 or 6. So you can see here I'm clearing out this last horde of enemies, trying to focus on headshots. I get my double points to drop. So I need to make sure I have ammo. So I'm going to grab the double points, grab ammo, hop up on this car, and then jump up onto the ledge. It's a little bit a shortcut, saves you a few seconds. I'm going to go ahead and let all these zombies out, throw my decoy so I get the double points from that, and go ahead and kill them as quickly as I can. Once I kill all of them, run through, grab as much scrap as I can, and we're we're going to go ahead and go to the left and open up the bowling alley. Now there's 2 side Easter eggs you can do, so we're going to activate that while we have our double points active. When you first come in the bowling alley, go ahead and shoot the cue ball, and when that is done with the animation, it's going to spawn 100 points. Since we have the double points prone under the vending machine, grab the 100 points there and grab the other 100 points. Since it's a bug round, we're going to try to do most of our traveling right now. So we're going to grab PhD Flopper first, and we're going to open up the shortcut on the side of the bank leading to the roof. We'll run in, we'll grab Jug. Make sure to go prone in front of these vending machines, you get an extra 100 points. We're going to run over and grab the water faucet for the pressure gauge, and then we're going to go ahead and open up the door right outside church, and our first objective is going to be to find the groundskeeper. Now I will go ahead and spend 500 scrap here to upgrade my starting weapon because I haven't grabbed my GS45s off the wall yet. Upgrading to green is going to make it so we can kill them a lot quicker, so that way we don't waste as much time on these lower rounds. What I found is if you can get here relatively quickly, sometimes he'll spawn right away, but a lot of times it can be frustrating waiting for him to spawn. So we're basically going to keep farming up points in the cemetery until we find him, and then open up the church as we're waiting. So we did manage to get lucky here. We found him on round 6, so we go ahead and kill him, pick up the key. Now we're going to run over to the shed to get the handbrake. Now here's where we're going to have to check how much points we have, because there's a few more doors we're going to need to open. So we will need to have enough points to open up the door right here by the bus, the comic book shop, as well as the door leading back to spawn. Once we do the loop and go back to spawn, that's typically when I like to turn off the rampage inducer. Now there's another thing you need to be aware of is how much scrap you have currently, and you want to make sure you're grabbing as much scrap as they drop. You have 2 options really. You can choose to spend 1250 scrap to buy the Mangler cannon, and then that way you can skip ahead to the next section, or if you want to do like I did, you can just keep doing the rampage inducer until round 11 when the Mangler will spawn, shoot his arm off to get the cannon, and then use that to get the wiring. I wanted to do it the other way, where I actually take the time and get it from the Mangler, because what I found when running this was I needed to get my pistols to purple, and I had a hard time getting enough scrap to have Pack-a-Punch 2 and purple tier rarity by the end of the boss fight, and so a lot of times I was dying. So I actually decided to try it where I wouldn't buy the Mangler cannon, and instead I would actually shoot the Mangler to get the Mangler cannon, and the timing actually turned out really well. Plus, as you're farming kills for scrap and points, you can hit this vending machine a few more times when you're able to. Now at this point it's round 8, and I know I'm going to keep the rampage inducer on until 11 when the Mangler spawns. So if you're playing in a squad and you're using gobble gums, this is a good point to use a profit sharing and a who's keeping score. Who's keeping score is going to spawn at double points on the ground, and profit sharing is going to make it where a portion of the points that you earn will also be sent to your teammates. So because we're going to be basically point farming for the next few rounds, if you're playing in a squad, this is a good time to use those gums. Now at this point I do notice I have more points than normal, so I'm actually going to buy quick revive here. You don't need to buy quick revive, but if you do have the extra points at the moment, I would recommend buying it. So I do manage to get a double points to drop, and because I'm by the comic book shop, we're going to go ahead and activate the free bonus points. So if you head out of the comic book shop over by the arsenal, up in the window, if you shoot this zombie points icon that's right above the air conditioner, it's going to spawn a free bonus points. Because we have double points active, we'll get a free 1,000 points. So right now we are going to go grab our GS45s off the wall, because we want to make sure we have them before it turns to round 11, because then there's a chance that they might be blue on the wall. We want to make sure to pick them up at green, so that way we don't waste more points picking up our gun. Now as we're continuing to point farm, we're making sure we hit the vending machine every round, and once we hit round 11 is where we're going to run up the steps and actually run up on top of where spawn is and actually turn off the rampage inducer. Once we turn off the rampage inducer, we're going to try to kill all of the zombies except maybe a couple, and then we're going to focus on the Mangler and trying to make sure we get the Mangler cannon. Make sure you shoot his arm when he goes to shoot you, and when you do enough damage to his arm, it will drop the Mangler cannon. Now with the Mangler cannon, we are going to run over to the electronics store, go ahead and shoot it with the Mangler cannon, and we're digging up these patches of dirt. One of these is going to have the electric wires right there. Now we're going to go ahead and run all the way to the bowling alley. So the last part that we need is to do the pressure valve, which is one of the hardest parts to do solo. Make sure you hit the vending machine as you're running by, just in case you haven't. I actually got really lucky here and should get a blue wrench. So we're going to use that on our pistols. So we already have our pistols blue. Doing the pressure gauge solo is going to be a little tricky, but that's where Ether Shroud is going to come in handy. Also, in between using Ether Shroud shrouds, we can use our smoke grenade launcher on our starting weapon in case you ran out of decoys or you didn't get one to replenish. So we're going to shoot or melee the panel to open it up, and then we're going to go ahead and use ether shroud. We'll place the water gauge and then start charging it. Now once your ether shroud is about to run out, you're just going to be prepared, because as you're charging this up, all the zombies are going to rush towards you. You want to try to get as much progress as you can, but you also don't want to risk going down. Now if you're using the smoke grenades on your weapon, the trick with using the smoke grenades is you really want to be in front of the panel right when the grenade pops off. So when you shoot it, it's going to land on the ground for maybe a second before it actually blows up. So the trick is you want to be in the position when it goes off. That way they don't see you. If you do it too soon or too late, then they might see you as you're standing in the smoke. So now that we have the last part to build the jet gun, we're gonna have to go up and craft it. Now be careful as you're coming into this room, because a lot of times they do try to trap you in there. So just be prepared. You want to craft it as soon as you can. Now we're gonna need to grab the 3 LTG parts. So if you follow this path, I go and do the comic book shop first. We're gonna run over, we're gonna grab this part in the ceiling, then we're gonna run over to where Speed Cola is. Now you can actually grab this part through the roof. I noticed I have an extra point, so I'm actually gonna grab Speed Cola here. You want to make sure you have enough points to pack a punch your pistols, because we haven't done that yet. So if you stand on this corner of the roof and you point down, you can actually suck the part through the roof there. It's going to be quicker than jumping onto the van and getting it through the window. Now at the arsenal, we do want to make sure we put napalm on our pistols. Now we can finally go into the church. We're going to hit the machine to spawn the 3rd and final LTG part. Go ahead and pick that up. Then we're going to pack a punch our pistols. Now we're ready to craft the LTG. So head out the door. We're going to take the zip line over to the roof where the workbench is to actually craft the LTG. Now on our way over here, because he's still talking, we're going to go ahead and open up this part of the roof right here. This is going to be for the next section. So go ahead and craft the LTG. Make sure you pick it up here. And once we pick it up, we're going to take the zip line back to the cemetery, and we're going to be ready to spawn our first boss. So we're going to go ahead and place the LTG first, and then I'm going to come over here and I am going to go ahead and activate the roof Easter egg, even though we already have our pistols blue. If you don't have your pistols blue at this point, you can use this Easter egg to get a free upgrade. It's going to spawn zombies falling out of the sky, and when it's done, there's going to be a free rare ether tool you can use on your pistols. Now a trick here is I like to use the jet gun to make sure that the zombies don't get it. But I'm also trying to check my map constantly of where the zombies are spawning and from which direction. We're going to need to defend this until the boss will spawn. Just be aware of your ammo count on your jet gun and make sure it doesn't go to 0. Now once it says it's stabilized, we're going to need to run into the church and grab the empty canister. As you can see, there's the blue ether tool. Definitely use that on your pistols. Run around, grab the extra scraps and the zombie points. Run in, grab your empty canister, and we're going to go ahead and place it. And as we're moving, we're going to be doing some damage to the boss. Now you don't want to make sure not to get the boss too low, because we need to make sure he's inside the trap when we go to kill him. So also as we're going, if you see any tacticals or lethals on the ground, you can definitely pick those up as well. So I like to put the right on the middle of the trap. We're going to go ahead and try to get him as about halfway. That should be good. He's in a good spot. If you have the abomination, I actually thought I almost killed him. If you have the abomination, you can get him, get 2 of his heads blown up. Now, as long as you did it right, he should have his zombie soul go into the empty canister. We're going to need to pick it up and bring it back into the church. Make sure you do not try to slide while you're carrying this, because you will drop the canister. So we're going to take the canister that has the zombie soul in it, we're going to place it. Next is going to be the Strauss counterpart. So this is going to replace your tactical. So the order I like to do this is I'll take the Strauss counter and I'll go down towards PhD Flopper, and I like to do this one first. So pull out the Strauss counter. It's going to tell you a color. You need to do the opposite color of what that is. So low is green, medium is yellow, and high is red. So we'll go ahead and do that one. We'll pull out the counter. This one says medium. We're going to set the button to yellow, just like that. And then we're going to zoom past this direction. And this is why we open the doors early, so we can just zoom past this part. Now we're going to go over and do the last one. Check our Strauss counter. It's going to say low, so we need to set the machine to high. Now this is a really important part. We need to make sure we grab the LTG before we go to the other side of the map. It's really easy to forget, so once you grab your LTG, I think the fastest route is to take the zip over. and then jump down the side. So we're just going to go this way, over by the bus, and then this thunderstorm right here is where we're going to place the LTG. Now, while I have the pistols and PhD, I like to slide over here and grab the empty canister, and then go ahead and place it preemptively. But you don't have to if you don't want to. Now, right here, I do like to blow up the cars, just to make sure I don't accidentally hit them. And if you do have to use your GS-45s here, that's fine. On this one, I typically don't use the jet gun as much, just because it's a little bit more risky. You're a little bit further in the run, and I just want to make sure I don't mess this part up. Now, same thing, once this boss spawns, we're going to do a little bit of damage to him, get him to about half to a third, and then we're going to lure him into the trap. We already placed the canister in the right location, so we're good there. So we're going to get him about half, run over here and turn on the trap. Now we need to make sure that he is inside the trap when we go to kill him. And just like that, the soul should be in the canister, and then we're going to take it to the church. Now if you look at our time, our in-game time is a little off compared to the actual time. I think because of network lag and everything. But if you did this correctly, it should be about 20 minutes or so, 22 maybe, is when you're completing this step. So because right after this step is when we're ready to actually start the boss fight. And since I saw I had a bunch of extra points and a good amount of salvage, I was like, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and just grab tier 2 armor. It's really not required, but for me personally, I kept dying on the boss fight while trying to do this solo with no gobblegums, and so I was thinking if I had quick revive and tier 2 armor, that would help me out a bunch. So I took the time to go ahead and go pick that up. And then here's where I believe I do one more extra round until I'm about to go into the boss fight. So right now I'm just point farming, trying to get as much points as I can, as much salvage as I can, because I do need to go get my pistols purple before I go into the boss fight. So depending on what time you're at right now, a good amount of time to save for the boss would be go in no later than 23 minutes. That'll give you 7 minutes on the boss fight, which I think is plenty. So I do go ahead and upgrade my pistols to purple. I went ahead and run over to try and spawn more zombies with this SAM trial. So if you do have a SAM trial and you're just point farming, you can definitely do that. Hopefully you get lucky with a good one. The zombies that you kill during the SAM trials will be less, but really I was trying to see if I can get more scrap to be able to buy something. But you can see I had plenty of time because I was able to go and do a SAM trial in the middle of trying to do this speedrun. Got purple, so really there's not much more upgrades I would want going into it. It's pretty unrealistic to try and get more. You could pack a punch your jet gun if you wanted to, but I think packing your pistols purple pack 2 is going to be way more important. So we're going to go ahead and go into the boss fight. Now I'm going to activate a side Easter egg, which is the fire trap. I like to do this at the beginning of the boss fight, just because you're just trying to kill as much zombies as you can to get the manglers to spawn. So there's going to be a set of candles that are not lit. If you shoot them with napalm burst, you'll set them on fire, and there's going to be 2 of them you have to hit. One to the left of the pack-a-punch, and the other to the right. So I'm going to go ahead and shoot this one, and then I'll go ahead and activate the other one. And what this is going to do is going to spawn a fire trap in the middle of the floor. So it's going to do damage to any enemies in the middle of the floor, which is going to help take care of some of the zombies and do a little bit more damage. And so make sure you're standing up here by the pack-a-punch so you're not getting damaged by the fire on the floor. In this boss fight, this is the most complicated part of this whole speedrun, is making sure that you don't die. So make sure you're paying attention to your health and your armor, and you want to try to prioritize the manglers or the bosses whenever they're out. Now I messed up here and got on a cooldown for my jet gun, so you really don't want to make sure you don't go on cooldown, because it's going to take forever for it to come back up. So make sure this is where Ether Shroud is going to come in handy. This is where your monkey bombs or decoys, if you have them, will come in handy. And what I tried to do was use the jet gun to take out as many of the regular zombies as I could, and just kind of tap fire to try and not use up my ammo as quickly. Now I did grab this max armor straight off rip once you finish the first round of the 3 manglers, but I think that those drops actually do last longer on the ground than normal. When you clear the second wave, you'll get a max ammo, and you can use that to your benefit as well. So make sure you spam all your ammo before you grab that one. So same thing, we're trying to kill the zombies as quick as we can. Once you get 15,000 points, you can pack a punch your pistols a second time, and now you're going to definitely have enough firepower to kill the bosses. So we'll take a couple moments and talk about a few gobblegums that can be helpful in this boss fight. So if you are using gobblegums in the boss fight, you can definitely use the idolize. This is going to make it where all zombies ignore players and stand idle. I'd recommend using this on the abomination boss because his crit spot is a little bit more finicky, as you have to wait for him to open his mouth. On the boss fight, you can also use free fire, which lasts 60 seconds. It's going to make where your weapons consume no ammo, so you have infinite ammo for 1 minute. And then lastly, you can definitely use killjoy, which is going to spawn an insta-kill. This is going to do significant damage to the bosses. It will not insta-kill them, but it does get a damage multiplier on bosses. Now, some other support gobblegums that would help in this area would be Arsenal Accelerator. It's going to make it where your Ether Shroud's going to spawn faster. Shields up, it's going to refill your armor, and then it's also going to be more durable. Power Keg spawns a full power up. But again, if you're not using gobblegums, that's perfectly fine. I just wanted to add this to have a full guide on how you can complete this. Once you kill the final boss and you kill the rest of the zombies, you'll go to the cutscene. You should be able to skip the cutscene and then exit. And as long as you've done everything under 30 minutes, you'll be able to get the Liberated Dark Ops calling card. If this full guide did help you out and you enjoyed it, and you want to check out more guides like this one, be sure to subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I will catch you guys in the next one.